and an even smaller storage locker at the bow, 2 rowing positions, and not much else. The boat is so small that rowers have to trade off lying down in the cabin. One person rows while the other sleeps, or tries to, in the narrow, cramped quarters. Sarah and Emily named their 24-foot-long, 6-foot-wide vessel American Fire, and trained like mad throughout the spring and summer of 2005 in preparation for the race. Both had been members of the Purdue University rowing team, so they had lots of experience with distance rowing. The Purdue University Boilermakers make their home in West Lafayette, Indiana, about 60 miles northwest of Indianapolis. The campus is surrounded by waving seas of corn and soybeans, but there is not much in the way of open ocean of any description. Both young women knew that ocean training was essential. So, in the summer of 2005, Emily and Sarah moved themselves and their boat to Florida to train on the intra-coastal waterway. They rowed back and forth between Fort Lauderdale and Miami, building their stamina for the 50 to 60-mile days of rowing they wanted to log during the race itself. The race began with what could be interpreted as a bad omen, a sign that bad luck and difficult circumstances were on the way. The race was scheduled to begin November 27, 2005. Taking advantage of what usually is the end of hurricane season in the Atlantic. Unfortunately, the 2005 season was the most active in recorded history, cataloging so many storms, including the infamous Hurricane Katrina that devastated the Gulf Coast, that forecasters used up all the names on the official list and had to use Greek letter names for the last 6 storms of the season. The racers finally left tiny La Gomera in the Canary Islands on November 30th, and quickly encountered unusually strong winds, very high seas, and extremely difficult rowing conditions. Hurricane Epsilon, a strange, late-in-the-season storm, was churning the seas and began to move eastward December 1st, 2005. Many rowers had to stop rowing altogether and throw out their sea anchors, large parachute-shaped bags deployed to catch water and hold the boat in place, to keep their small rowboats from being blown backward in the strong winds. When able to move westward again, the rowers passed through the southern edge of Tropical Storm Zeta and into even more difficult conditions. After a month and a half of non-stop daily rowing and battling the seas, on January 15th, conditions became so bad that the crew of American Fire was forced once again to set their sea anchor and wait. Part of the steering mechanism on their boat had snapped, and they needed calmer water in which to work to reattach it. The horrendous weather drove both Sarah and Emily into the cabin, and the small space quickly grew stifling. They turned on the ventilation system, confident that the design of the vents would keep water from the large waves crashing over the boat outside the cabin. At about 2:30 p.m., Sarah says they had radioed the Aurora, the closer of the 2 support vessels for the racers, a mere 300 miles ahead of American Fire. The other support vessel, the Sula, was 600 miles behind them. In a brief conversation, they advised the crew of the bad weather and their forced stop. At that time, the Aurora had their hands full rescuing another boat that had capsized earlier in the day. Around 4:30 p.m.